Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving deep into Google's Gemini command line interface. This is a tool designed to bring some seriously powerful AI right into your developer terminal. Our mission for you, our listener, is basically to cut through the noise here. We want to understand its strategic importance and, figure out if it actually lives up to the hype right now.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how aggressive Google's entry is here.
Aggressive.
Oh yeah, into the AI-powered terminal agent market. I mean, they've jumped in with this, really disruptive free tier, almost unmatched, and they've paired it with a very permissive Apache 2.0 open source license.
Okay, so that's significant.
It really is. It means this isn't just like another product release. It positions Gemini CLI as more of a foundational piece, part of a much bigger ecosystem play.
So they're trying to hook developers early.
Exactly. Capture that developer mindshare fast and then, channel that adoption towards their wider cloud services. It's a pretty smart strategic move.
So it's definitely more than just a simple coding assistant then.
Much more.
It's a deliberate play by Google, putting their top-tier AI right into a developer's daily workflow. And the core promise, the big headline, is embedding the full power of Gemini 2.5 Pro, right?
That's the one with that huge context window.
The 1 million token one, which for anyone maybe less familiar, that just means it can handle a massive amount of code and context for really complex tasks.
Right. Multi-step debugging, workflow automation, all supposedly right there in your command line.
Sounds incredibly powerful, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The potential there, especially with that token capacity, it's immense. It should allow for really sophisticated, context-aware help, stuff other models just can't manage because they can't remember enough. But, you know how it is with bleeding-edge tech. The reality on day one can be different.
And that seems to be exactly where things get interesting and maybe a bit difficult, because while those strengths, the free tier, the cross-platform support, which is a big deal.
Windows, macOS, Linux, unlike some others.
Right, like Claude Code being macOS only for now, and it being open source. Those are huge pluses. But the community feedback, it's pointing out some pretty major weaknesses.
Like what?
Well, users are reporting, and I quote, excruciatingly slow responses.
Ouch. So speed is an issue. That kills productivity.
Directly, and it's not just speed. There are frequent bugs mentioned, and then there's this frustrating rate limiting issue.
Rate limiting, what happens?
It seems sometimes it downgrades your session to the less capable Gemini Flash model, which, feels a bit like a bait and switch if you're expecting pro performance.
Yeah, that's not great. And the quality, the actual reasoning?
That's another point of criticism, often described as pretty poor, especially when you compare it head-to-head with competitors like Anthropic's Claude Code.
And I've also heard getting started isn't exactly smooth sailing.
You're hitting on another big one there, the Google Workspace authentication process. People are finding it, frankly, incredibly convoluted.
Okay, so a real barrier, particularly for bigger teams or companies.
Definitely for enterprise adoption, yeah. So you've got this high potential tool, but it feels very immature.
Which brings up the question, why release it now in this state?
Exactly. What's the play?
Well, connecting the dots, Google's short-term focus seems pretty clear. Stabilization and bug fixing. Get it out there. Collect real-world feedback. Let the community stress test it.
Okay, so using early adopters for QA, essentially.
To an extent, yeah. But their long-term vision is wider, supporting local models like Gemma, deeper IDE integration, tighter links with Google Cloud. They're playing the long game, even if it's a bit bumpy right now.
Right, so putting it all together, what does this mean for you listening? If you're an individual developer?
I'd say experiment with it now, especially for simpler stuff.
Like scaffolding projects, boilerplate code, maybe some quick refactoring.
Exactly. That free access to 2.5 Pro, even with the limitations, is pretty unique for those tasks.
But not for critical, complex work yet.
I wouldn't rely on it for that just yet. Performance and accuracy aren't quite there for prime time.
And for technical leaders, people managing teams.
Encourage experimentation. Let your teams kick the tires. See what it can do now, but definitely hold off mandating it for production workflows.
So watch and wait.
Watch, wait, and track its progress. Keep an eye on the GitHub repo. Look for improvements in performance, reasoning reliability, and please that workspace authentication process.
Okay, so ultimately, this deep dive really highlights a high-stakes bet by Google on, well, an unfinished product. And maybe the provocative thought for you is this. In this fast-moving world of AI developer tools, how much preview status are you actually willing to put up with, even for the promise of something powerful, free, and open source down the line? And maybe more broadly, what does it signal when a tech giant essentially gives away such a potentially powerful tool, even unfinished, right at that developer entry point? Something to think about.